Hi, and welcome to the second and late night readings for NYWF 2020. On tonight's theme is no and carrying on from the food related prior. This reading will be comprised of stories written in the form of recipes. Firstly, I would just like to acknowledge that I am broadcasting from the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people up here in Meanjin, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now onto the event. We've got 6 really great writers to read it to read it for you tonight. The first will be Anita Solak. She's a poet and writer navigating the silences of the migrant home, the struggles of language and responsibilities inherent in love and loss. Her work obsesses over reconciling the absurdity of the past with the absurdity of the present and the way languages take up space. She completed a Bachelor of Creative Writing in 2017 and is currently studying Master of Writing and at RMIT University. Her writing has been published in Rabbit, Runway, Journal, Voiceworks, and more. She writes to perform her confusion for the world. And we will hear from Haneen Martin, an artist and writer based in the Northern Territory. Haneen utilizes the arts to tap into her Arab and Malay roots as a means of formulating a personal and mystical connection between the artist, the work, and the viewer. Haneen's work is a deeper exploration of what it means to be an outspoken woman of colour in Australia, ranging from existing between multiple worlds, negotiating pride in her culture through food, or recognizing and examining higher beauty standards we hold ourselves to in order to be accepted in our day-to-day lives. Thirdly, we'll have Olivia Muscat. Olivia's writing about art and disability has appeared in Witness Performance, Time Out, and Baby Teeth Journal, among others. Her personal essays have featured in anthologies Meet Me at the Intersection and Growing Up Disabled in Australia. She has appeared as an artist and moderator at the Emerging Writers Festival and YA Day Festival. And in 2019, she was awarded a Leslie Paul Scholarship to work on her novel for younger readers. She lives in Melbourne with her guide dog Jemima, where she teaches drama and writing to kids and teenagers, and is co-founder of the YA page. And then Jess Martin is a poet, critic, and multidisciplinary artist with an interest in experimental theatre, dance, and performance. Recently, their work has been exploring improvised poetry with performance context. Jess frequently writes poetry in response to artwork and is informed by personal experience as an autistic non-binary artist. Having grown up regionally, their work evokes themes of memory, isolation, and landscape. As a reviewer, Jess's work has appeared in the Adelaide Review, Fest magazine, and Express Media Buzzcuts, among others. They are the current writer in residence at the Mill Okay, hopefully this is working a bit better now. Sorry about that that tech issue, everyone. I'm not sure where I dropped out with the bios. I might just go on to Ray. Ray White is a non-binary transgender poet, writer, and zinester. Their poetry collection, Milk Teeth, the University of Queensland Press, won the 2017 Thomas Shapcott Poetry Prize, and was shortlisted for the 2019 Victorian Premier's Literary Awards. Ray's short story, The Body Remembers, placed second in the 2019 Rachel Fenari Prize for Fiction. Their poem, What Even Are You, placed second in the 2017 Judith Wright Poetry Prize. Ray's poetry has been published in Australian Poetry Journal, Cordite Poetry Review, Meanjin Quarterly, Overland Rabbit, and others. Ray is the editor of hashtag NB Life, a journal for non-binary and gender diverse creatives. And then we will finish up with Dan Hogan. They are a writer and public primary school teacher from San Remo, currently working on Darug country. They also run an DIY literary organization, Subdin. The poem No Alarms won the 2019 Judith Wright Poetry Prize. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Anita Solak to give her reading.
Hi, I'm Anita. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners of the land from which I work, write, read, and am broadcasting to you today, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. The piece I'm reading today is a multilingual piece and a recipe poem. It's about being rejected by a city. A meal I can't remember. Ingredients: 2 cups consecutive sleepless nights, half cup trashy tourist trap pizza, 3 tablespoons of a screenplay I wrote that's really just Peaky Blinders, but with me as Tommy's love interest. I froth over his eyes and suits, or maybe just want to be him. 3 cups pre-frozen -15-degree night in an obscenely perfect grad, let's say Vienna, the epitome of clean, organized, beautiful, and everything I've ever wanted to be. 1 cup chai od kamilice, 2 cups Airbnb stan you can't get into, 1 cup heated ristara. Method: melt snowflakes using your skin. Curse: blow heat into your ruke. Ask yourself why you accepted your tetka's green suede rukavice if you never intended to wear them out, in fear of ruining something beautiful. If you're using your intellectual airs today, instead of being the OG you, please remember to note the consistency of your speech, posture, beverage order, and the books you seem to be reading in the 24-hour kafichi. Watch patiently as the Nebo Browns and the Polizeizi pass for the 5th time, laughing at you sitting on the curb in the snow. Let some of your sramote split open. These will be the most meaningful ones. Lightly pass your body into the only open restaurant, in the hollowed-out kumshilok. Hold your hands over the steam rising from the child kamilitsa. Leave it to cool for 10 minutes before sipping. Let this be your first inside mistake. In the meantime, drain your face of color and keep your stomach simmering to coincide with the nothing meal the chef is preparing but you won't remember. If half an hour passes and your dish is still bubbling, if the restaurant owner looks at you like a piece of trash, an anomaly in Vienna, in an otherwise clean street, fold the desire to become this city into your need to be a Virgo, like RM and Jungkook. For best results, dice all your hopes until they're unrecognizable, and the city's disdain for you no longer hurts so much. Dust your flesh suit with indifference until it's a raincoat, but for both. You'll be tender for about 2 days. Don't demand anything of your mixture. It won't listen to you, no matter what yezik you speak. Result. Vienna might try to spit you out, but your body can serve its own grimy mark, like, so there, you're gross now too. Look at this tiny vetse stall and this tiny restaurant, fuming with your hot, upchucked guts. And then, when your Airbnb host finds you, your face and kosa, sticky with disappointment, call it garnish. Thanks for listening. Next is Haneen.
Hello? Hello? Hi? Okay, welcome. What are you here for? Recipe. What for? You want me to give you a recipe? I don't understand. I could just feed you. What could you possibly want with a recipe? Okay, I'll tell you what. If you really want to know, if you really want it, I'll teach you. You have to learn. I'll teach you, but you have to put in the effort. Okay, are you ready? What are we cooking? Don't even worry. I'll be here with you every single step of the way. Just don't get it wrong. Wait, stop. What the hell do you think you're doing? No, enough. We don't use measuring utensils here. We just sit and we wait for ancestral guidance. You'll know when it's right. Anyway, if you don't, I'll tell you. Are you ready? I said, are you listening or not? All right, first step. Go get the thing and put it over there. You got no ears, is it? No, that thing. This one. Okay, good, good. Now do it like this. Yes. All right. So far, you're not as disappointing as I thought you would be. We can carry on. Why are you crying like that? No, I can't just write this all down. You want all these other people to know, is it? Why do they deserve our recipes? Why do you really want to have this recipe? Why are recipes such secrets? Protected so closely, we have to work to earn them from our mothers, aunties, and grandmothers' whispers. Tiny morsels, granules of information that guide us towards our intuition, all that we already knew. Sifting through my hands as I lean lazily over the sink, warm to sweat under the afternoon sun. I hear the calling of the grains of rice that slip through my slack palms and swim down the drain. Sustenance lost, wasted for my inability to pay attention at the task at hand. I think about the secrets of the lost grains, the new things I could have learned from cooking them, the repetitive nature of soaking, swirling, and letting the undesirable parts float and pass through at ease. So every time I try, I take away a little bit more of the secrets that I was never told. They are present if you just keep soaking, swirling, draining all the bad away. We are built from rice grains. I still don't like bread. For years, I was told that our food smelled weird and looked off-putting, so we had to gather up our grains and build ourselves stronger. When people break you because they won't eat the food that makes you who you are, you become bitter like rice wine when you loudly overhear someone say, "I had sticky rice once in Thailand. This is very authentic." You breathe deeply, hoping that they have at least experienced what it feels like to have sticky rice cover your right hand and weigh it down. It is the weight of security because it is generations of strength and power, not the weight of superiority and volunteerism. It is always the latter. I was asking for permission to exist from the wrong people. It is the strength from these grains that shift and change so that when someone innocently asks me if I like mee goreng, I do not fall apart and scatter into a million grains of rice at their feet. This strength now empowers me to share my food with the people I love because that is how we were raised. This strength does not shake the anxiety I feel before I share food with a new person because I've been conditioned to believe that they will hate it before they try it. In my mind, there is a pile of uncooked rice grains, and I bring them towards me across the table, one by one. Counting to 10 does not help, but the chalky feeling of uncooked rice on my fingertips grounds me. I was asking for permission to exist from the wrong people because I had no roadmap to which world in which I was allowed to exist. No hints, no clues. I remember my mother telling us to never lift your nose at food because you never know when it will come again. Because even in her lifetime, even in her privilege, my grandparents have, lived through rations. The secrets of trauma which silences in some ways, emerges in others. The thrift behind some of our favourite ingredients because ikan masin does not expire without refrigeration. Our taste dictated so practically. I did not have to ask permission. Here I spent so long defending the food, the recipes, the culture that has sustained my entire bloodline and has kept me alive, strong and healthy. Or it did, until I tried to move away and felt the ancestral taunts of individualism which made me ill. Too ill to enjoy eating or cooking until the ground shifted and now it hurts to only have your soul accepted because a staple part of your being has been made palatable through a broadsheet article. My food is comforting because it makes me who I am and it connects me to everyone that I love. It is not restricted to culture, though I will still eat rice and soy sauce over a gourmet sandwich any day. My food is the recipes of generations who spoke to one another and shared joy. It is the blank book my grandmother gave me in my teens to write her recipes for baking, gathered from her 9 years of studying in Australia in the 50s, only to have returned to Malaysia and fed hundreds from that kindness. I think about how she felt that kindness and laughed kindly when a young boy near her college in Perth asked her if she was a gollywog because he simply did not know any better. It is the book, increasingly less blank because I am filling it with every recipe. I am filling it with every recipe that gives the people I love joy. I am starting to worry less so I can cook for my friends and hope they understand that I am as heavy as sticky rice and as delicate as grains stacked precariously on top of one another, waiting for a gust of disapproval to take them down. After the fighting, after the ripping up empty rice bags and picking up the lost grains scattered across the floor, I know I'll stick to what is familiar. I will keep uncovering the secrets I need to learn. So anyway, it's just turmeric, salt, fish, and plain rice with some sambal on the side. Your fingertips will turn yellow if you eat it right with your hands. Just think about us, how it felt when the same people who made us feel uncomfortable for our sunshine-coated fingertips tried to sell us their turmeric lattes. So I will teach you. Come over anytime, but I can't give you a recipe. Thank you. I would just like to acknowledge the land that I'm on, which is the land of the Larrakia people here in Darwin, Northern Territory. And coming up next is Olivia.
Okay, hello. I would like to acknowledge that I'm broadcasting from the land of the Wurundjeri people tonight. I think that's, and I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging, and hope you enjoy this. In the time-honoured tradition of bloggers everywhere, I have a deeply personal and spiritual connection to the recipe I'm going to share with you today, which I'm obliged to bore you with before you actually get to the recipe you came here for. But also, I just ripped it off from some other blog and changed up some of the wording and switched up the ingredients to something I like a little better. I know you're here to try my fail-safe recipe for how to be an ableist dickwad, but you need to understand the reason why I'm sharing this recipe with you. Recently, I took a trip to the Shallow Waters Spa Resort, which was really gorgeous. # not sponsored. And OMG, I saw an actual disabled person there. Like, what would a disabled person want to go to a spa for? This was a luxury beach resort, and I just found it really depressing that they were just letting disabled people wander around. Don't they have special places for people like that? I just wanted to enjoy my massages and cocktails in peace without any of the problems of the real world encroaching on me and my me time. Like, I'm not trying to be on PC or whatever, but I went to the resort to get away from the stresses and tragedies of life, and seeing this poor woman just minding her own business and seeming to have a good time completely ruined the atmosphere for me. I just didn't have the experience I paid for because I just kept thinking about how if someone had paid for her to come here, because obviously she can't afford it, disabled people don't work, right? Then she must be dying or something. And that is just really not in keeping with the resort vibes I was going for. Like, all I kept thinking was if I were her, there's no way I would be at a spa resort enjoying my life. Like, it was really inspirational of her, but I don't need to see that when I'm trying to relax. Anyway, that experience inspired me to create this recipe. Please let me know in the comments how it goes if you try it. I'd love to hear about your adventures in being an ableist dickwad. Ingredients: 2 cups of non-disabled guilt, 3 tablespoons of infantilization, 3/4 cup of discomfort with somebody who doesn't fit into your perfect version of reality, 2 heaped tablespoons of judgment, 180 grams of ignoring boundaries because disabled people aren't like regular people anyway, 1 cup of misplaced sympathy, 250 milliliters of ignorance, a generous handful of asking uncomfortable questions because, again, disabled people aren't the same as regular people, 2/3 cup of superiority, 175 milliliters of smug assurance that you'd never be that sad and pathetic. If you can't find smug assurance that you'd never be that smug and pathetic in your local supermarket, you could always try subbing in some assurance that you'd rather be dead than ever have a disability. 3 cups of disingenuous kindness. This is optional, but great if you want loads of social media engagement. 300 grams of righteous indignation. Again, optional, but great if you offer the poor disabled person help and they refuse because they're actual people with boundaries and autonomy and know what they're doing, or something ridiculous like that. 1 cup of pretending you can't see them if they need any sort of actual assistance. And a pinch of bombarding them with stories about your cousins, uncles, hairdressers, baristas, nieces, grade 2 teachers, fathers, girlfriend's dog who wore an eye patch once to serve. Method. 1. Add all the dry ingredients into a bowl and mix well. Be careful not to think about them too hard or you might hurt yourself. 2. Combine all the liquids in a saucepan and simmer along with your resentment that you have to deal with these disabled slackers asking for reasonable adjustments and accessibility. 3. If a disabled person comes along, make sure you really dig your heels in and treat them like the subhuman beings that they are. If they take the time to educate you or let you know what you're doing is harmful, make sure you completely ignore them. This is your recipe, damn it. 4. Slowly stir in the liquids. At this point, it's really important to really double down on the ignorance. So if you suspect you're beginning to question your beliefs, feel free to add a little more at a time. You can never be too blissfully unaware. 5. As you struggle to combine the wet and dry ingredients, offer the disabled person giving you useful advice help with a saccharine smile on your face. Make sure you use small words because they probably can't understand you. Remember, at this stage, it's important to make inappropriate physical contact because that would definitely make them feel safe and not be weird or uncomfortable at all. 6. Reassure them that you think they're brave for simply being able to get out of bed in the morning. Really work in that smug assurance and misplaced sympathy until you have a thick dough. 7. Here's my favorite part. Time to pepper your dough with some way too personal questions about the disabled person's grooming habits, employment status, living arrangements, sex life, medical history, whatever you want really. The options are endless and it's all down to personal taste. 8. Form your dough into little balls and place on a baking tray. Bake in the glow of your own unadulterated perfection for 15 minutes or until golden brown. 9. To serve, sprinkle liberally with your own anecdotes about that one 3-legged cat you saw in a current affair that time, or the day you dislocated your elbow on the toilet. And get supremely offended when the disabled person isn't interested in your boring story because at the end of the day, this really is all about you. So, as you can see, this is a really simple recipe. I was even able to whip up a batch at the Shallow Waters Spa Resort, #not sponsored, because it's never the wrong time or place to be a disabled dickwad. And like I said, nobody goes to the beach expecting to be confronted with something so horrendously awful as a disabled person just trying to have a nice, well-earned break. Although, when I did see this woman sunbathing on the sand, I thought, wow, how amazing. Maybe we're not that different at all. If she can overcome her disability to lie on a towel and get a tan, maybe I should be more grateful that I'm normal and can do whatever I want. So I went up and asked if I could take a selfie with her for Instagram. I had a really great inspirational caption in mind and everything. And the bitch told me to fuck off, which was so unappreciative when I was just being nice. So I just thought, fuck it. I'm not donating any of my hard-earned influencer dollars to the RSPCA this year. That'll show her. Thanks, everyone. Next up is Jess Martin.
Hi, I'm here on Kaurna country in Adelaide. I pay my respects to Kaurna elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the thousands of years of storytelling history in this place. Sovereignty was never ceded. This story is called Recipe for Swimming. First, you will need a swimming pool. A backyard swimming pool filled with leaves from the olive tree that shades it, topped with a fine layer of dust that seems to stay dry above a meniscus of algae green pool water. You need a creaking metal pool gate with a round handle on top that you have to lift above your head height to unlatch the gate that sometimes simply won't open or properly close. You will need a lawn of patchy, straggling grass and 3-corner jacks to carefully tiptoe across from the gate to the concrete edge of the pool. You need a faded wooden picnic table on which to leave your towel and goggles and the sunscreen that you rarely remember to reapply. You need an ever-encroaching cloud of bees from which to run and dive to escape from whenever you venture out of the water, which your father eventually tracks to a wild hive in a bottlebrush tree at the corner of the yard. You need a father who doesn't know how to talk to you, who just as the spring weather starts to warm up for the school holidays with strings of sunny days all in a row, starts fussing around the water pump and chlorine bucket, checking pH levels daily, and making estimations of how long it will take the water to clear with daily infusions of powdered chlorine, stirred up in a bucket full of water with an old piece of wood that has turned white and thin and cracked on the surface. The white slurry then poured around the water's edge before taking a net and standing alone, skimming leaves and dust and an occasional dead mouse from the water. This preparation must begin a week or more before the end of the school term, so that every possible moment can be spent at least partially submerged in this weightless space. Sometimes your father starts this process too late, or the pH levels take longer to adjust, the green fog takes too long to clear, and you do not get to swim until the second week of the holidays, and your hair never really reaches that limp green blonde before the first day back at school. But the water always clears eventually, and then you need a set of rules. Firstly, you aren't allowed in the pool alone. This means every morning of the holidays you must corral support, making reconnaissance in the grey dawn light to find your father fiddling with pH strips before he heads off to work, finding your mother too busy with some domestic project to supervise, rallying your brothers into swim trunks and t-shirts to foray out to the pool with crunchy beach towels that your father gave you the previous Christmas, and sun-bleached oversized flip-flops. Wear the oversized t-shirt you still have from your 5th birthday party that says, "I'm a Hungry Jack's birthday kid," to keep the sun off your shoulders. Secondly, you must have a bucket of sun-warmed pool water to dip your feet in before stepping into the pool. Your father is sure this keeps grass out of the water after all his cleaning efforts. So there is always a bucket of water at the shallow end of the pool, next to the steps, placed on the pebbled and pockmarked concrete that rings the swimming pool, for you to dip each foot in after stepping off the grass. The water in the bucket is already filled with grass clippings that cling itchily to your legs every time you step in it, so you have to swirl your foot around and swiftly pull it out before anything can stick for the foot bucket to make any difference. Sometimes you do this several times before jumping in the pool with grass-covered legs. In addition to these main two, you will need some more informal rules. No dunking each other, no kidding each other in the pool, no getting dirt or grass in the pool, no food in the pool, no glass in the pool. Take your towel and wear a t-shirt so you don't get sunburnt. Wear sunscreen if you're swimming, check the pH every day, don't stay in the pool for more than an hour or so. Have supervision. Your older brother can count as supervision when your parents aren't around. Don't fight. Don't let your brothers drown you. Don't swim after dark. No climbing on the shed where dad keeps the pool equipment. No jumping off the shed where dad keeps the pool equipment. Don't play with the chlorine. Don't tell your parents when you and your brothers kill a spider in a bucket with a cup full of chlorine powder. Remember in great detail how you will die if you touch the chlorine. You can splash as much as you like, but don't drown each other, and don't splash all the water out of the pool. No jumping from the olive tree that hangs next to the pool, no cannonballing on each other, and no diving at the shallow end. The plan is to swim every day of the holidays. You're going to need to set some goals so you don't get bored of swimming. Even when your fingers are pruned and your muscles tired, and you feel perpetually blinded by the reflected light from the surface and from opening your eyes underwater, even though you never wear your goggles. The plan is to spend every waking second in the pool, to break every rule, to try to swim as many lengths underwater as you can, to perfect the sleekest, splashless dive imaginable, and get dad into the pool just once all holidays. Spend hours perfecting the way you swim. A method for diving. Stand at the deep end of the pool, perfectly in the center, on the cover for the water filter, your feet flat and facing forward. Check that your brothers are not in the way. If dad is around, tell him, "Check this out, watch me dive." Bend down with arms stretched and hands overlapped to point first to the ground, and then, as you bend your knees, Point your arms to the water and spring, long, clean, purposefully for a point far out in the water. Feel your body swallowed underwater with barely any resistance. Kick your legs together as you look at the pale blue reflected ripples on the fiberglass floor of the pool. Hope your brothers let you surface without being wrestled and dunked back under the water too many times. A method for swimming underwater. Feel the volume of your lungs inside your body. Enjoy the slightly uncomfortable feeling as they push your muscles and organs out of the way to make space for the largest breath you can take. Dive from the deep end with a kick that will send you far down the pool as quickly as possible. Feel as though your legs are invisibly pinned together at the knees and at your ankles as you kick and kick and kick along the upward slope to the shallow end. Feel the end coming towards you at an imperceptible distance and reach out. Tuck your knees to your chest, throw your head back, turn silently and push off for another underwater lap. Wait as long as you can to breathe out. When you do, it is a long, steady breath out of your nose until you clamp your jaw shut hard against the urge to breathe back in. Kick your legs slower now, again and again, until you have to push up from the pool floor and burst gasping back to the surface. Spend every moment you can in the pool. Hang there, treading water in an easy figure eight of pinwheeling arms for as long as you can. Wait 22 years. Then read Kate Kennedy's poem, How to Play Marine Boy. Realize your father loves you. Realize you are already supposed to know that. Text your dad. Tell him how you've started going to the local swimming pool. Tell him how many laps you can hold your breath. Up next is Ray White.
Oh, hello. My name is Ray White. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm broadcasting from the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and future. Tonight I am reading a sexy, funny kind of piece called A Recipe for Polyamorous Meet Cutes During Pandemics. Ingredients you'll need: hot, gay yearning and text chat innuendo. In the before times, this would happen at a book launch, a partner's birthday party, a partner's baby shower, a walk in the city past breathless breeze of scented hair, past the most gorgeously dressed, gay-looking person you've ever seen. But now, what is street? What is party? Step one of this recipe is simple. The gays are on Discord, so learn a new non-Zoom medium is vital. Start typing yourself and your queerness into this new reality, this new online heavy world. Join Discords of every flavour, the queer ones, the nerd ones, the ones about Animal Crossing, about Stardew Valley, about plants, about cooking and recipes, about any combination, and all of the above. Ingredients: a cup of anxiety, a brain twinge of learning curve, a pinch of pandemic exhaustion. Step 2, innuendo in text channels, horny heart flutters in video chats. Pick your babe, or babes, plural, and focus on them, their face, the rainbow flag in the background of their videos, the way they make you laugh. Admire their clothing choices as the video pauses and pixelates, shifts and shimmers. Wonder, are they this hot and together in person, or are they as lockdown exhausted as me? Ingredients: a tiny teaspoon of heart flutter, that feeling of being alive and whole and focused again, just for a moment. A pinch of lip bite and the hungry lick of your own mouth. Step 3, obsess. Daily, hourly, nightly, about one or more of these gorgeous queers. Fantasies of soft, skin soft as flour, and breasts moulded in hands like freshly plumped dough. Fantasies of a wooden spoon jelly jiggled against her ass. I said obsess. Ingredients, a subtweet here, a sleepless night there, and don't forget 2 large cups of telling everything to your other partners. Chat about crushes amongst yourselves, in your own private Discord, in your polycule lockdown house, because chances are you're all in the same boat. And chances are even higher that you're all crushing on the same bloody people. It's just how polyamory recipes work. Step 4, 5, who knows where we're up to and who really cares? Because at this point, you're done for. When they appear in group chat, you only focus on their face. Full screen, surround sound, and you trace their lips on screen with your fingertip. Imagine one day doing this in person. The warmth and softness of kissing them. The dust trail their lipstick would leave on your fingertip. Wait, dust? Oh, that's your computer screen. It's dirty. Clean your fucking computer, you scrub. The last step, the final magical ingredient of a direct message that makes a whole dish either come alive or fail completely. Hey, you type. I hope you've been... No, we've all been not well. Just send what you really want to say and maybe burn yourself in the process. Run your heart under cold water for 5 minutes and you'll be fine. Hi, you type. I loved the lipstick you were wearing yesterday. You looked really hot. I hope that's not too forward. If this was a fuckboy, you'd be here for days. But they're already messaging you back straight away because they're always online. And oh God, you can't look. You close your eyes and you don't care if the food burns. Don't care if hours, weeks, months of prep have been wasted. Don't care if a dull Discord message noise. I'm going to make the Discord message noise. Your eyes fling open and you hunch over your dirty, dusty, horny computer screen. Hey, that's cute, they say. And thank you. I like you too. Thank you so much for indulging me in listening to that weird, horny polyamory story. Up next is the awesome Dan Hogan.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Ray. My name's Dan, and I'm coming to you from Gadigal country. I want to acknowledge that I'm coming from. I'm broadcasting from the unceded lands of the Gadigal people in the Aurora Nation in so-called Sydney, and I want to extend warmth and solidarity to any First Nations people that are watching tonight. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I'm going to read a heaps long poem. Unfortunately, first of all, unfortunately, it's a poem, so I'm sorry about that. And secondly, it's supposed to be funny in some parts. So yeah, I'm sorry in advance that we can't hear each other laugh. Anyway, I'll just get on with it. All right. This poem is called Very Edgy, Much Optics. This recipe is called Seize the Means of Information. Jokes, this is really the recipe for How I Met Your Can of Mother. I kid you not, everything contained within is an infographic sent from my iPhone. This is a recipe for a hot dog made out of the same stuff as a black hole. First, dichotomize the nausea. First, an infographic shared by a long-term acquaintance to their Instagram story tells you you are what you eat, so you go ahead and eat an exhausted whoopee cushion. First, Question why people always profusely apologize but never profusely pole vault. First, disappoint the oldest person you know by texting them, "Sorry, but I can't make it tonight. I'm a graphic designer." Next, design a snake wearing a party hat that also looks like a worm burdened by a small but fabulously dense pyramid. Next, nightmare across a field in lieu of sating the desire to smooch your own fractures. It's important to be relaxed, but not too relaxed forever. Too much milk, not enough cereal discourse. Next, see a dolphin's shadow. It's not really something you see, but more something you feel. Like the first time you saw the screen of a smartphone shatter, or that feeling you get while editing the Wikipedia page for ventriloquism. Or how your earliest childhood memory is seeing one of your primary school teachers at the TAB wearing his school clothes but no shoes on. You will know you've made it when you're having your sharpest tooth pulled by a dentist clad in a three-cornered hat while eggs hatch on the floor. Now, stick your leg out the window of your share house bathroom like a bottle of fine wine that has aged so well it is considered by the market to be both futuristic and before its time. Proceed to fiscally whisper to the whole disgusting sky, "Hey, this is me at the altar. This is me at the dawn of the rest of our lives. I can't believe the financial year is almost over. Hey," before gently closing your hand around a USB containing a file that can only be described as click.mp4. Remember to name your firstborn after your second favorite podcast. Now, jaywalk across a floodplain holding hands with your child who you named Cereal. Meanwhile, a sky somewhere splits up like parents. What is actually like eggs in the presence of hailstones? Thirdly, you'll need the algorithm tiptoeing on your blood like Wee Willie Winky running through the town. Except for the town is actually your blood, and Wee Willie Winky possesses planetary scale ownership of the means of information flow, control, collection, storage, access, extraction, and analysis, upstairs and upselling and downstairs in his nightgown. Wee Willie Jeff Bezos, rapping at your window, crying through the lock, "Are all my children in bed for now? It's 8 o'clock," so on and so forth. Next, Eric Olin Wright has argued in Understanding Class that an exit from capitalism, if possible, will be serviced as a rupture only possible under, quote, non-democratic conditions. Now, consider a Sharknado in which the sharks have all been replaced with wind, a Windsnado, if you will. Be careful not to lump in late capitalism, as some will say it tastes like sucking liquid perfume off the bunions of the barefoot investor. Ensure the shoe is fully satched, but the foot couldn't be more dry if it tried. Curse the cup. Curse the empty cup which suggests water. Next, the sun will rise like a fuckwit, the clouds peeling back like a foreskin of self-proclaimed unprejudiced, pained and possible, bright and sinister and at large. In their 2019 work, Capital is Dead, Mackenzie Walk challenges the assumption that the possibility of opening a portal through which we can leave capitalism for something else is not allowed due to the current state of the world. Walk writes, quote, "We have to question that assumption, but in a good way. Maybe this is already capitalism. Maybe this is already not capitalism, but something worse." Walk rightfully points to the proliferation of new forms of private property working to compound pre-existing capitalist forces and neoliberal hammers. Summoned by these new forms of private property is a new set of antagonistic relations exerted by a class of owners never before seen in history. Too late stage capitalism, question mark. Get to know the ruling class. Jeff Bezos is on course to becoming the world's first trillionaire. Sorry if I pronounced Jeff's name wrong. Not because he owns large-scale means of production, but because he owns most of the information infrastructure through which the banal data of our lives is funneled, stored, commodified, sold on, and fed back to us. The ruling class to rule the ruling class. Bezos owns the informational infrastructure the capitalist class must rent in order to trade and produce commodities by extracting surplus capital from the labor of workers. The emergence of this new ruling class who owns the means of information, has compounded the forces the worker must overcome in order to unmatch their identity and self-sense from the interests of capital. Which is why you must get to know the Pomeranian who, despite being recklessly flatulent with money, taught you that bagel is short for baby angel. Do it for the content. Thank the babies brandishing electrified pitchforks for once in your life. Next, pretend to electrocute yourself on a non-electric fence and hail Satan 666. Don't ask, just lob a cashew the size of a baby into a basketball hoop. Don't ask, just start imagining what seizing the means of information might look like. Talk to me like oblivion is a transaction made in heaven, and remember me to your payroll manager. Meanwhile, the much maligned WASP is a working age citizen from the cradle to the grave. Are you happy to see me, or are you just mosquitoing into the tidiest corruptions again? Extremely gender reveal party voice. Our mummies and daddies say we're growing stronger every single week because we love our Vegemite. We all adore our Vegemite. Our mummies and daddies say things are starting to look a lot like one species attached to another exclusively for transportation is called a skeleton wearing a tall wide hat with a revolving head who sees everyone everywhere, puts a rose in every cheek. Now, sit back and say the word going, but in the style of boing. You've ever seen a dinosaur with feathers like a crowbar? Actually, don't answer that. Friendship with holes in half time has gone into administration. New best friend is the severe monetization of hope. Data is inflicted on genes long before it takes shape. Try not to remember the word for life-size tech deck and use it in a sentence to a colleague. For example, good morning, Michelle. My uncle has broken his shin riding a life-size tech deck. I will be working from home today if you need me. Next, take your laminator on a dolphin watching cruise. You won't regret it, and you'll probably see some dolphins. Located at Nelson Bay, only an hour north of Newcastle, Moonshadow cruises offer many dolphin watching options with a high success rate of sighting dolphins. To book in, call Moonshadow on 0249849388 and ask for Shannon. 3.7 billion financial years ago, a blob in the ocean was the first thing to react to light. Thanks, Blob. You were so much cooler than my stepdad's webinar on QAnon. To be honest, I would rather be punched right in the badly drawn griefscape. It's not what you said, it's just the way you changed the file name. It's easier to imagine the end of capitalism than home time. Conduct a prayer ceremony for search engine optimization by watching your horrid bath mat and use it barefoot straight out of the dryer. So nice. It's bin night, so there's that to look forward to as well. You are what you eat, so eat the rich. Leave work on time by starting your day with 4 shots of Yakult. Tell your love interest the barefoot investor, born December 12, 1955, was in the crowd when American President John F. Kennedy emerged from the Hotel Texas in Fort Worth, Texas on the morning of his assassination on November 22, 1963. Footage of an 8-year-old, the barefoot investor, being lifted onto the shoulders of his father can be seen in the famous Zapruder film, a silent 8mm color motion picture sequence shot by bystander Abraham Zapruder, which captured Kennedy's assassination. The Zapruder film, kept from public viewing for years, has evolved into one of the most viewed films in history and is now available on the internet for public access. Now, what might look like confusion is an eyelash. When restrictions ease, will you choose a lifetime supply of KFC or a Theramin? Blink it out. Elicit elegant listlessness, and suddenly you're not non-binary in relation to cis conceptualizations of gender, but non-binary as in your identity doesn't match the interests of capital. In order to prevent frostbite going forward, never stop pulling faces. Wait here while microwaved in the shadow of an atom. Not enough hours in the day. In the darkness, you thought it was a ghost. Getting closer, you thought it was the dastardly hobgoblin, Wee Willie Winky. Shone the torch from your phone on it, but, and it turns out everything will be okay for your landlord. Which reminds you, your next horse will be a clothes horse. Change your Tinder profile to, if I was the iceberg, I would not have stopped at the Titanic. which reminds you to think of only loud noises when struck by the smallest sound you ever heard, the crackling emitted by ants deshelling a cockroach at the point where two walls become a corner. You are what you eat, so unable to shake the thought that when you smile, you're simply manipulating muscles to expose a piece of your skull, you eat yourself. All right, that's it from me. And thanks to all the readers tonight, Anita, Haneen, Olivia, Jess, Ray, and Dan, and huge shout out to the co-directors as well, who have put together such an amazing online festival this year. And thanks to all you guys for tuning in and watching. Thanks very much. Have a good night. Bye.
Hi. Thank you all. And thank you, Dan, for like sending everybody off for me. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that wraps up day 2 of the National Young Writers Festival 2020, and we hope to see you over Saturday and Sunday, which are filled with amazing events and workshops. So join us for the weekend.